Principles of Sports Nutrition.
If your goal is to lose body fat and you're serious about this and you're willing to take the necessary action and read and study and do what is recommended by the experts and follow the guidelines of science, the first thing, or one of the first things that you have to do, is get your body composition analyzed. This is an essential step because it tells us what we are made of as opposed to what we weigh on the scale. Our weight is simply the influence of gravity on our mass. It doesn't tell us our composition, and we need to know our composition, and body mass index is not a reliable means of identification of body composition. We want to know what percentage of our mass is fat, and then relate that percentage to risk of morbidity and mortality. It's imperative to face the facts. Knowing our lean body mass can help us determine how much protein we need, which in turn will protect us against muscle loss when dieting or exercising to increase beta oxidation, which is a fancy term for fat burning. So we want to lose body fat, we want to hold on to the muscle, we need to consume enough nitrogen, which is what you get when you eat protein, and a positive nitrogen balance is essential to this process. So we need to understand our composition. Knowing our composition, our body composition, also tells us how much of our body is comprised of storage fat, and knowing this, at least from a fat conscious point of view, can help motivate us by keeping in mind that too much body fat is deleterious to health and athletic performance. The aesthetic aspect of our body composition is important. What you look like to yourself and to others is important. But risk of disease pathology, decay, and degeneration should always take precedence from a functional and logical point of view. That is why we can no longer accept as a society excess body fat without a framework of its connection to disease, heart disease, diabetes, depression, arteriosclerosis. There is almost an infinite number of diseases that are either causative in nature connected with being obese, or that being obese leads to an abstraction and a decay of our composition, which then makes us liable and therefore a liability from a social network and healthcare point of view. If you are so-called overweight and specifically over fat, to the point that you become obese, not only are you going to suffer in multiple ways, both mentally, emotionally, and physiologically, but you're also going to place on the healthcare system an enormous burden of cost, especially as you get into your 40s and 50s and 60s. Now, it's not you individually, it's you as part of a collective of increasing numbers of people that are gaining weight prolifically to the point where you're going to be hospitalized and you're going to become functionless and you're going to have to take medications, and that is ultimately going to bankrupt the Medicare healthcare system, along with everything else that everyone is doing that violates the code of life, the laws of nature, and the laws that determine optimum health and function. So measure your body composition at the beginning and through the entire process of your commitment to lose body fat and to get into great functional shape. This generates positive biofeedback. This is why I, as an athlete, a bodybuilder, a track and field hammer thrower, and a human being, have my body composition routinely analyzed. It provides me with biofeedback. It lets me know whether or not I'm moving in the right direction, in the same way that I have other biomarkers checked. For example, the most commonly known biomarker is cholesterol. Why would you possibly want to know whether or not your cholesterol is high or low, or putting you at risk? The reason is that the facts don't lie, and then we can take action towards change that leads to the normalization of your blood lipid panel. So the same thing is true with body composition. The most reliable methods of body composition assessment include Dexa, which is an acronym, DEXA, for dual energy X-ray absorptiometry, something newer called a bod pod, which uses air displacement as a means of measuring composition, hydrostatic, which is underwater weighing, and bioelectrical impedance analysis. The professional models that I use myself are quite reliable and are in research compared to other methods. They've been shown to be quite reliable. So don't weigh yourself on a traditional bathroom scale unless you're already lean and ripped and trying to gain muscle mass. Then you know, based on the diet that you've put together, that the only weight that you're gaining is lean functional mass. But even then, get your mind off of your weight and get it on your composition. As bodybuilders, specifically natural bodybuilders, prepare for their show, they actually get smaller, but they look bigger on stage. It's an illusion. Why? Because they lose body fat. The underlying muscle systems begin to appear. They etch themselves in the mirror, and you see the muscle standing out. The person's the same height, but they've lost body fat, and their appearance changes, and so will yours. So we want to think in terms of appearance, yes, but more importantly in terms of health, long-term function. Remember, excess fat generates something called silent inflammation, and silently and surely your body will erode as excess fat emits terrible messages that cause decay and disease and the proliferation of damage. So the focus here is to do the right thing, get lean, stay lean, and change the consciousness, because it's your state of mind that leads you in one direction or the other.